Hello and welcome to Live Cardboard number 3. Great to be back for our third episode. Tonight's topic is going to be a tribute to Rodger MacGowan. Of course, as most of you know, he's passed away. So we're going to take that as our starting point and talk about a lot about the wonderful designs he did for covers, and then we'll talk about the games that are inside those covers too, because after all, we're here to talk about games. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's come out tonight. I thank you individually the way Aardwolf does, but I have no idea how he gets that list of who's logged in and who isn't. It must be an OBS plugin or something like that. I'm not sure how it works, but eventually I will. I'm new at this. And I'd also especially like to say thanks to everybody who came out last time. There was about 60 people who dropped in live, with the average being around 25 people sort of stuck through the whole thing, and we're very interactive, and we had a great time. And then I'm happy to say that 2 weeks ago, our live stream, it's now been downloaded over 1,100 times. So I don't know if that's going to be the way this goes with Live Cardboard, or if it was just the case that there's a lot of people who are really interested in World War II tactical. That wouldn't surprise me. It's a pretty popular field. And speaking of World War II tactical, last week, I rounded up about 12 games, and or maybe 15. And we talked about them, and I can't believe it, but I inadvertently missed one that I've played a ton, and that's Undaunted Normandy. It's one of those games that I initially dismissed it as being not complex enough, not enough of a model, too generic, stuff like that. When I first played it, it just didn't really grab me. But then I finally got into it with a buddy over Vassal, and we played through the entire box, that first box, and we just loved it. It's unlike anything out there. It's going to make you feel like it's some kind of weird Euro or something, but stick with it. It's one of those games where, like, the first 2 or 3 scenarios, they're basically training scenarios, so they're not great, frankly. The first few scenarios are not great, and that's probably why I got turned off the game at the beginning. But once you get into the game a little bit and get into the scenarios 4 and up, I would say it really opens up, and it's a fantastic game. We couldn't get enough of it. We'd still be playing it if there was Vassal modules for the next expansions or the next games in the series. Hopefully that'll come along. I've even started to try and teach myself how to hack that module and add more scenarios from the reinforcements box. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I wish I apologize to David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin for missing their great game, and I wanted to add that one in. I think I'm supposed to go with. I'm supposed to tell you all to subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, do all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I have the super sticker stuff all turned on yet. I don't think so, but I'll have it eventually. This is all a work in progress. So we'll see how it goes. The one thing though, I do want to say, and remind me if I forget all about this. I want to try to do a giveaway tonight. I've got a game that I'd be happy to give away. So if I can get the software to work right, I've got this. This is crazy. Like, I get a few games sent to me as review copies and stuff, and I'm often happy to give those away or pass them on, whatever. But this one was one where I don't know. Tell me if I'm the only one who's ever done this. This one is one where I backed the Kickstarter twice. So I got 2 versions of it. And anyway, I like the game plenty. I actually put it on. I did a little piece on my website about it, and I quite enjoyed it. But I have an extra copy, new and shrink. Here it is. It's 1943, 1945 from Dissimula, Sergio Xavi. The title at one point was The Soft Underbelly. I don't know why he got rid of that title. I thought it was a good title as well. But anyway, this is the game that I'm going to have. I'm going to give away tonight if I can make the software work. It's a cool little game. It's all just, as you might guess, it's about the invasion of Sicily and Italy, and it's a bit abstract. It's quick to play. I think you could probably play it in under an hour, I would guess. I think, but it's a cool game, and I think whoever wins it's going to really like it. So, anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do. So, here we go. Before we get to the topic, I got a few things I want to do. So we'll go with news, and I guess the first news, of course, is that Rodger MacGowan has died, and it's terrible. It's for those that don't know, just like a month prior to his passing, his home and his studio, the C3I RBM studio, burned down in the Los Angeles fires. So he and his wife and his wife May and his son Stephen were all dealing with this terrible tragedy. The I have no idea if he lost all his original artwork that was in the studio. I don't know how much was there and how much was off-site, but I was feeling bad enough. And then here he passes away. Who knows? I don't know what he died of course, but I can't help but think that having your life's work possibly go up in flames wasn't good for his health. Anyway, there was a GoFundMe page set up just to help them out to recover from the fire, and that page is still up. So if you want to chip in, help them out, there's a link in the description for the video, and also if you want to know more about Rodger's work, we're going to go through a bunch of it tonight, but the book that I have showing there, the Art of Rodger MacGowan, that came out about a year ago. It's sort of an autobiography come art coffee table book. It's beautiful. Anyway, I did a review of it, a video review of it, and I put a link to that in the description as well, so that anybody who wants to check that out later and get a good look at that, they'll be able to. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I mean, anybody who's watched me, they know that he's my all-time favorite artist. So it's definitely not it's definitely a rave review. Anyway, so I guess that's the first thing. That's the first thing for news. So anyway, on to happier things. GMT, they've had a couple of updates since in the last while. I don't know if I talked about any last while. I guess I'll just tell you the things that struck my mind that came in the most recent one was Mr. President, Gene Billingsley's game about the U.S. presidency, solo game. It's coming to Steam, and not only that, heading up the design and development of the video version of the game is Ananda Gupta, who is co-designer of Twilight Struggle. But for anybody who doesn't know, Ananda's day job is he heads up a development wing of a really successful software game company. So GMT's got the right man on the job for that one. Lucky guys. Good for them. In the GMT, in the new to P500, there wasn't much this time. There were but a couple of interesting things. There was this Over the Hills and Far Away. This is Bayonet and Muskets Volume 2, so a new game in that series. I haven't played that one, so I can't commented, but it's, it's got enough fans that they're going with a second edition. So good for them. And then another one that I haven't played. This is Red Storm was the original game. I think this is the first expansion, but I don't know. So Red Storm Southern Flank. That's the other thing. There's also a reprint of something coming out, but I can't remember what it is. It's I'm more interested in what's new, right? Other things that's new. Neva War Games. I bet a lot of you don't really know Neva War Games yet. They've just kind of come onto the scene. They've got a really interesting art style. They're really proactive in with their monthly newsletter and getting the word out. Anyway, they just announced last month that they've developed a P300 system. It's not exactly like the P500 system at GMT. GMT's P500, they don't charge until they ship the game. Neva's is sort of halfway between that and the Kickstarter thing where you pay everything up front. What Neva is going to do is you register for a game for their P300, and they will charge when it goes to printing. So kind of halfway along the process. So anyway, check out Neva War Games. They might have something you're interested in. I think maybe the big thing that they've got going on right now is they've got a solitaire Iwo Jima game that's up for pre-order. So check that one out. What else have we got here? New releases. Yeah, well, I just have. I think I just have one. What was it? Oh, right. So this is World War II Commander Volume 2 Market Garden. This is a John Butterfield game. So I don't know. If you're like me, you're a big fan of John Butterfield. I think I don't have the first one. I think the first one was World War II Commander, and it was Bulge. And I think I've got this right. He made his Bulge game that he made for this series was based on the computer game that he'd made for Shenandoah Publishing, which was a short-lived war game, digital war game publisher. So I really loved that. I really loved all three games that came out from Shenandoah. I was very sad when they decided to call it quits, because I thought they were great. But what are you going to do? They weren't making any money, and it's just the way things go. But anyway, so it was a great little system where you did his Bulge game, and obviously now he's made a new game because the three games that Shenandoah had, one was by him, the two others were by two other people, and one was North Africa, one was East Front, so there was no Market Garden there. So this is obviously a completely new game. So I look forward to seeing that. That's it for that's the only new release that caught my eye over the last couple of weeks. There's plenty others. And then in terms of new things that I got in the last couple of weeks, the first one is this one, Oblique. This is the latest game from Amabel Holland from Hollandspiel, and it's I've played it a couple times already. It's fantastic. It's a block game, but it's great. It's on the table behind me. I'm just going to show you the blocks. Like, I've got big hands. These are huge blocks. They're like, I don't know, an inch and a half square. And you can see that they're not just like the normal 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got listen to my podcast. There's a whole thing about how it works. But it's a beautiful game. It's got these giant blocks because both sides only have about 10 blocks each. So little blocks would have got lost. It's about Frederick the Great, and much like Frank Davis's kind of iconic game on the same subject, it's really the key to the game is chasing down, cutting off your opponent. It's way more a game about maneuver than it is a game about battles. it's fantastic. I've really loved it. It's I think there's not, it's not like it's a one big campaign game. It's 10 scenarios, I think, different years, which the Frank Davis game was similar to that. You could play any year, but I think in his game you could run the years together too to play a longer thing, if I recall correctly. Anyway, I'll be interested to see who else gets oblique, and I want to hear what other people think of it. It's so far it's been a really pleasant game for me. I really liked it. I also this one is from Nuts Publishing. This is 1917, 1918 Italian, A Farewell to Arms. This is the third volume in a little series from Nuts, all on World War I Italian front. I haven't played the first two at all, but I saw this at my at the Sentry Box, my local game store, and it just went, this one's gonna, I gotta have it. I gotta find out what this is all about. I like World War I games, so I'm gonna check it out. We'll see what's up with it. Anyway, it's I don't know if anybody's played the other two games. I'll be interested to see what they think. And then this one, VUCA just sent me a copy of this, so I'll definitely be doing some content on this because, well, they sent it to me because they knew I'd like it. This is an interesting game. This is a 4-player game, 1 to 4. It's called The New Cold War because it starts in 1989 when the first Cold War ended. And its time period is 1949 to 2019, I think. And the factions here, on the one side you have the US and the EU, which kind of at the present political moment seems a bit unlikely, but in this game that's the way it is. And then on the other side you have Russia and China. It is a 4-player game. I don't think you play totally as teams. I think it's going to be a bit like a coin game. It's not a coin game, but just in that you have somebody who's sort of on your side, but there's going to be one player or another wins. It's a card-driven game, and the cards, I've had a look at it. The cards look like your standard ops points, events. But it's also one of those games where some of the cards are Russian cards, some are U.S. cards, some are China cards, some are neutral. So there's going to be that thing where you can get burned if you got to play your enemy's cards, I imagine. Anyway, that's it for the new games I've got in the last couple of weeks. There's more than that. Christoph, it does have a solo bot, and I can't. It's got a funny name. I can't remember what it is. I looked at it. It's got a great name. So there is one player. The game is made for 4 players, but then there's this whole section in the rules at the back for how to play it with less than 4. So it's kind of got. I think it might have like a sort of a series of different bots depending on if you have 2 or 1 or 3, depending on who's playing what. Yeah, I think it looks good too. But that's it. That's the end of my what's new. Well, my what's new. I'm addicted. I buy too many games, and then now that I've started this, every once in a while people send me them too. So anyway, that's it for that stuff. Let's get right to tonight's topic. We're going to talk about Rodger MacGowan's covers, his legacy, and the games that those covers cover. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the games while we go along. So as I said before, I'm a giant fan of Rodger MacGowan. He started doing covers in 1976, and I bought my first Avalon Hill game in 1977. So I sort of feel like his career as an artist and my career as a game buyer have overlapped entirely. He's been with me every step of the way, and I've loved his art style. It's influenced me to buy games for sure. We'll get to one tonight that it influenced me to buy a game that it doesn't happen very often because he's done a lot of covers for really iconic games that have stood the test of time. But every once in a while, he did a cover for a game that didn't stand the test of time. The other thing, we all know Rodger as an artist, but what gets forgotten in a way, even though C3I is still around, Fire and Movement, that was his first magazine. He's got just as big a legacy as a magazine publisher as he does as an artist. Fire and Movement was, I'm pretty sure, the first wargaming magazine that wasn't put out as a company. It wasn't Strategy and Tactics. It wasn't The General from Avalon Hill. It was just a completely independent journal about wargaming, where they could review games from any number of companies and give strategy articles or variants. It was a fantastic magazine that he kept going for years, and then he sold it, I think, maybe to Steve Jackson, maybe Steve Jackson, and then it went to Alan Emmerich, something like that. It had a little bit of a history after he was done with it. Anyway, I think it's just I just wanted to mention that it wasn't just covers with Rodger. It's he had a giant outsized imprint on the hobby, and it's really interesting because I never met him. It's a great sadness to me now that he's gone. I'd sort of corresponded with him a couple times in the last few years, and I hope that one of my trips to California, I'd be able to swing over to Los Angeles and actually meet him, because he's a hero. But by all reports from people who know him well, he's a really self-effacing, quiet, humble guy. And for somebody who's had such a large effect on the hobby, that doesn't sound like that's, he wasn't full of himself, I guess is the way I'll say it. Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. He's been part of my life for the whole time. It's crazy. I've lost a friend too, but well, we'll celebrate him tonight. So here we go. Let's start. Let's get right into it. Let's start with this is it. This is his very first cover design, which was for he'd been designing for magazines before, but this was his first war game cover design. And man, he got off on the right foot. Partly because it's by my estimation, it's a fantastic design, but also it's like, talk about a game that's stood the test of time. Like his first game is one of it's got to be in the top 10 war games of all time, and just in terms of its longevity, and everybody's still playing it. It was just a couple of years ago that GMT came out with the 5th edition, just after Compass had come out with the 4th edition. I mean, there's been multiple editions. But if we look at that cover, it gives us a lot of what makes Rodger's art great, I think. His use of color, like there's a lot of designers in our space that are a little bit timid in their color. They're a bit I don't know. It's just a bit pale. So a lot of people, their stuff's a bit pale, but we got great color. We have he used this a lot as well. The pointillism technique that you can see there with all those images are basically black and white images where he's used a pointillism technique, which is quite sort of, you see it and you immediately think of him. The other thing is drama. I always think his art has an incredible sense of drama to it. It's like the guys in the snow smocks at the bottom there. They look tense. They look nervous. To the left, the German that's advancing in the orange there. It's there's nothing static about his images. So anyway. This was his first one, and I was happy to see that when GMT put out their fifth edition, they went with this. So they did they went with sort of a redo of his cover because it was just an homage to him. And yeah, Joe, I totally agree. I love that font as well. It's not. Let's go back to it because this. I think Rodger does this a bit. If you the typeface there is fantastic, right? It's like it's not that backwards E on the like I don't know. It grabs you. It's fantastic. The only thing that I was a bit disappointed with this cover was, hey, they didn't do they didn't do the same typeface. I would have liked to it. I would like to have seen that again. Yeah. It's I totally agree, Christoph. It's sort of like it just it's there's something timeless about it. It looks perfect. I'll totally agree with that. I think I have one more. The other thing I wanted to say about that cover is, well, let's just go back for 1 sec. Not forward, back. We have, well, especially on the original one here, we have Russians. We actually have Russians on this cover, and this was not something that happened a lot in the 70s. They were a bit German obsessed. If you look at, I just did a random, scooped up 3 games from the 70s that had Russia or Moscow or East Front or whatever on the cover. But, I picked these 3 just at random, and they've all got Germans on the cover, right? It may not seem revolutionary now, but at the time, Rodger was saying, this takes place on the Russian front. We should have some Russians. He definitely wasn't sort of a fetishist for German army in World War II. That's for sure. Anyway, then this one, another. Talk about another. I'm not going to talk too much about this game because we talked about it last episode. But holy smokes, talk about another iconic cover, and and it has those same things. We've got some decent color here, and we've just got drama, right? It's like, the leader there, he looks tense but focused. There's the guy advancing with the potato masher or whatever you want to call it. That cover is fantastic, and so are the next ones that Cross of Iron, another fantastic cover. The whole series was fantastic. Yeah, I agree. That's going back 1 slide, but that orange background is great. And when we get to this one, it's in the same way that the orange was great. I love the blue background here. There's something about that looks like we're either at dawn or dusk. There's something that we're not in the full light here. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then so is this. We go back to the orange. But his work on the original series was great, and some things you may not remember if you didn't play these early squad leader games. He didn't do it all the way through. He passed off the work to Charlie Kibler at one point, but in that original squad leader game, the scenario cards for the illustrations that came on each scenario card. Now they just use period photos. But back then, Rodger did a drawing for each scenario card. So those first 12 scenarios are all Rodger's art as well, and they're fantastic. I don't think I grabbed any for this presentation tonight, but they're he's got some. I'll always remember. There's one of a dive bombing Stuka that's just fantastic. And then, like I say, I think he kept doing the covers, but Charlie Kibler started doing the artwork. And then once it got over to MMP and ASL, eventually it turned into photographs. But I wanted to show you all these, and then they very wisely used this composite for ASL when it came out, which because it's it's so beautiful. But I just wanted to no, I don't. I'm going to throw a little shade. Well, let's just say what's going to happen here, because I think the original SL covers and the ASL cover were beautiful, and then we and then we get to Beyond Valor, right? And it's an okay cover, but it just doesn't have the zing. And, all the rest of the ASL covers, they just don't. They don't quite have the zing that those Rodger MacGowan first covers do. Yeah, that's exactly right, Indy. Birds of Prey. That's where the Stuka was. Yeah, fantastic drawing. I wish I had a picture of it, but if you look at my video, I put a picture of it there. So if you want to see that, yeah. So this cover was by George Parrish. A pretty good cover artist for sure. There's nothing bad about it. I'm not saying this one was bad, but it's just. Yeah, exactly. That's that's true. That's true, John. I know that probably what he thought that this typeface was maybe kind of something Germanic or something, or I don't know, but yeah, it does look more fantasy than World War II to me. Totally agree, E4. That book is fantastic. I know it's expensive. It's about $100, I think, something like that. I don't know, but it's totally worthwhile. I love that. It was just like reading that book was like a walk through my past, and at the same time, there's some stuff in that. There's some stuff in that book that I'd never seen because there's if we get through all these slides tonight, we'll see it, because he did some stuff for Hobby Japan that. Never saw the light of day on this side of the pond. So anyway, this isn't his cover. This is the original cover of Anzio. But when they came out, I just wanted to show it because it's not a bad cover, pretty good. But then when he redid it, we're back to that thing where it's like suddenly there's like drama in the there's drama in the picture here. That fellow on the right, he does not look relaxed, right? Things are going, yeah. So yeah, I haven't played Anzio. If we're going to talk a little bit about games, I think, I think the thing that stands out about Anzio is I think it might be the first game that ever used step reduction. I think the original counters were just single-sided. So the step reduction was you'd take a counter out and put another one in. It was that sort of thing. It wasn't like flip it over and have a step reduced side. But I think that's the thing about Anzio. And so makes as we're going to see through this slideshow, Rodger's work appears on a ton of really iconic games and important games. So I don't know. Maybe it's just that really when publishers knew they had a really good game or something, that they went to the cream of the crop for the cover or something. I'm not sure. This is just a bit. Well, I'll just respond to this, Christoph. Yeah, that may be right. The last piece of art that Rodger made, it may have been Mark Herman's book. Certainly, in the last few years before that book came out, he wasn't doing much in terms of new artwork, but still he was repurposing artwork a fair bit. When I think of Desert Victory, Trevor Bender's game that came out in C3i magazine. The cover for that was a reworking of some of the art that he'd used on things like maybe 88 and games like that. But that Mark Herman's book, I don't know if that was an older piece of art that he repurposed for that book or if it was new. It's kind of a cover of somebody working on a game. Anyway, back to this. This is this is kind of I'm not going to go totally chronologically tonight, but this one is chronological, and I picked this one because I have this game, I've played it, and I think it's oh, well, good to know. Good to know. I picked this cover because I think it's an underrated game, and people should be playing it more. But it's also like just a fantastic version of one of Mark's pieces. I think this is another thing that we see a ton in in Rodger's work. This thing of like a central figure, sometimes two, sometimes we get them one on either side, but sometimes just one in the center, and then it's like collage in a way, but without being the formal collage, block here, block there. It's not that kind of collage. But this basically is a collage. We've got the central figure in the middle, and then another figure in the back, and then the foreground figures below him. So this is and then again, like we got the deep rich blues, and we got the oranges and the oranges and reds in the background there. It's just the this game has got some interesting things. Every time you move, you lose strength, like that idea of friction, right? That's what's that, Clausewitz? That's friction doesn't make its way into every game, but it certainly did in this one. A true beauty. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend you get a copy. I'm sure they're cheap on the secondhand market. Here's one I do have but haven't played, but I just wanted to throw this one up here because it's another just one of the great covers, right? It's like, talk about the drama and the color. We've got the Japanese red flag sort of image in the back. We've got the Japanese pilots. They look I don't know, focused but anxious. We've got the attacking planes up at the upper right. We've got the carriers in the bottom. I mean, even if you weren't interested in the Pacific, like this is a cover that would make you go, I don't know, I think I could get interested in the Pacific, right? That's the kind of cover that makes me want to play a game. Absolutely. So I guess I have the game. I didn't have it when I was young. I bought it secondhand in the last couple of years, partly because of the cover and partly because I did hear it was a great game. Here we have Panzer. So Rodger also, at the same time he was working for Avalon Hill, he was doing some work for Yaquinto. And it's interesting because this is the first cover for Panzer, which is Day's Panzer game, which is now, this whole series is sort of been redone, and it's been put out by GMT. I think it's the same series, pretty sure it is. But interestingly, as we'll see later, Rodger does the artwork for the first game in the new series as well. But that's pretty classic. That's pretty classic Rodger MacGowan right there too. I love the I don't know, what do they call it? Foreshortening, the perspective with the how large the barrel is towards us and how it tapers away towards the. I guess that's a Panther, probably, right? Anyway, that's. I didn't have this one. I don't have any of them anymore. I think I've got all three of the slides here. Oh yeah, so I guess I just have this slide here to show you that he redid it, sort of a slightly different version, but basically the same the same tank up at the top there. But here's the other two. He did also Armor, which is a lovely box, but this is the one I really loved, and this is the one I bought. These Yaquinto games, Yaquinto was like, they were the first publisher that I remember that had, it felt like they had like thick counters, like the components felt extra deluxe in a way. Yeah, I thought I wanted them to stick around longer. I really loved their components. I've never been a huge fan of the Panzer system. I've given it lots of goes. I'll probably keep playing it because I got enough friends that that totally dig it and like to play it. So I've got a couple of the new Panzers. I sort of wish I had my old 88. I gave it away years ago, which was you're stupid sometimes when you're young. Anyway, that was that's I think that artwork has been repurposed in the last decade. I think we'll see. So this is not Rodger's art at all. This was Bulge 65, which of course is a seminal game from the original sort of those games that came out in the 60s that all had well, most of them I think had the same CRT, a lot of the same rules, just different settings. This is a game you can still play. I still quite like it. But anyway, in '81 they redid this game with Avalon Hill redid it with what they call Bulge 81 at the time, and Rodger's cover is it's just fantastic, right? It's like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm a fanboy, so I'm a bit over the top. But I mean, I just look at that and go, that is a fantastic cover. Patton looks like what you think Patton's going to look like. Sort of excellent and an asshole all at the same time. He's completely buttoned down with his tie and the whole works, and his helmet's a little shiny. Just what you think of him. But then you got the well, I guess that must be a Sherman up in front of him, is it? I can't really tell. No, I can't tell. But then and we have we've got the bayonet. We've got the trees and the background there looks very wintry, like it should for the Bulge. Anyway, I thought those two were a nice compare and contrast what the original Bulge was and then what Rodger's version was. I put these slides together a couple days ago. I'm going to press these buttons, and I have no idea what's coming up next, so we'll find out. Well, this one comes chronologically. This is an example. This is the first example of a game where Rodger's artwork got me to buy the game, and I just hated the game. Man, I hated this game. I was only, I don't know, 18 or 20 when this came out, something like that. This is a World War I game. The cover is great. It's got Rodger's sort of the big central figure, but also his use of collage in a more formal way here. I think this cover is fantastic, but I don't know if any of you have played the game. If you have and you enjoyed it, hats off to you. It was as big of a slog to play as I think the Western Front was to be on, in a way. I mean, not to minimize the loss of life and all that, but just it just felt like nothing ever moved, and it's just it's. I guess I wanted more out of that game. I thought that game was going to teach me a lot more about World War I than it ended up teaching me. I just got frustrated with it, and the lines were really static, and it didn't seem like anything was happening. It's funny because that game, not that there were no World War I games after it, but there wasn't really a really big popular game until Paths of Glory comes out, like, I don't know, 20 years later, 10, 15 years later, whatever it is. I think this came out about 80, 81, somewhere like that. So, yeah, it was like, it felt like the hobby tried a World War I game with Guns of August, and it didn't go well, and they didn't try it again for a long time, other than the Air War games, of course. Now, here's one of my all-time favorite games. This is by designer Courtney Allen, and it's the very first area impulse game. Of course, there have been lots of area movement games. I mean, Risk is an area movement game, but it was the impulse system that was the real revelation here. This is a tactical game. The counters here, if they're not squads, they're companies. It's a quite small scale, and the Courtney Allen's real innovation with this game was that it broke away from the Igo Yugo system of the traditional hex and counter, in that when it was my go, I indicated one area on the map that I had units, and I moved and or fired with all of them. Then they were done. You flip them over, they're spent. Then my opponent gets to activate one area where they have units. They can move or fire them. Goes back and forth until all the units on the board are either spent or both players have passed. That's the end of the turn. Flip them all back over so that they're on their fresh side again, and you do the whole thing again. So it really got rid of that hex encounter. Wait for the other guy to do his whole thing, and then I do my whole thing. I think maybe the probably the chip pull mechanism had come out a few years before this, so there was that broke up the IO-UGO as well. But this was I don't know. This was the other thing about Storm over Arnhem was it's not only the first area impulse game. It was being the first one. It's also like one of those playable in an evening games. It's not short. It's not a filler. It's not that short. It's going to be 3 or 4 hours, but you can get through it in an evening and have a really totally satisfying game. It's it started something that's still going. Avalon Hill put out I think 4 in the area impulse series, and then M&P's got a few. They got a couple of Storm over Stalingrad, Storm over this and that, and then Mike Ranella has taken up the mantle of being the king of area impulse, and he's put out a bunch of area impulse games, mostly through Revolution Games. He's got a bunch of games through there, but also his kind of reworking of Turning Point Stalingrad. He calls it Verdun on the Volga, Stalingrad Verdun on the Volga. He originally self-published it, but it's just had a republished version from Against the Odds magazine. Totally worthwhile game. So anyway, that's a digression. I'm sure at some point I'm going to do a whole episode on area impulse games because I'm a dedicated fan. Anyway, no surprise, Rodger MacGowan does the cover for the very first area impulse game. That totally makes sense to me. Now here's another. I included this one. I played this game. I quite like this game. It's one of those games that was an SBI game that they then sold to Avalon Hill. This is the Avalon Hill cover, which is way better than the SBI cover, if you ask me. The SBI cover wasn't bad, but it was one of those photo covers. It was a good photo. But this is fantastic. If you've played this game, what you'll remember about it, anybody who's played this game will not forget it, because the thing about this game is the movement allowances. Yeah, Stupid Joe's got exactly what I was going to say. The movement allowances for the units are 50 and 60 movement points. So yeah, there's a lot of counting so much to move, for sure. So much so that guys had made little homemade player aids that was like, it's this many movement points from this spot to this spot, so you didn't have to count it out every time. What those giant movement point movement expenditures gave, though, was this is a North Africa game, obviously, where the name of the game is cutting supply, the name of the game's maneuver. So this gave chances for giant sweeping maneuvers, with the caveat like you're going to get cut off if you do it wrong. This is if you're into maneuver, give this game a go. Both the S&T version and this Avalon Hill version, they're both available on the secondary market. I don't know if the S&T one might be more expensive, but I don't think this one's all that dear. I think you can probably get this one for $30 or something. Frederick the Great, another classic cover, and then another completely iconic game. This game changed wargaming a little bit too. In that the last game I talked about how supply was such an important thing. In some ways, in this game, depots and cutting off supply is almost the only thing. There is combat in this game, but Frank Davis really kind of distilled things down in this game so that it was really just. You couldn't win without completely concentrating on depots, supply depots, cutting supply, stealing your opponent's depots if possible, all that sort of stuff. You can still play this game today. It hasn't lost its shine. It's still fantastic. I know there's some people that have a few quibbles about it, and everybody's got quibbles about things here and there, but I think it still stands up. And I have to say, it definitely has influenced Emma Bell Holland's Oblique that's on the table behind me. Her game is very much about supply as well, and it's really easy to get cut off in her game too. So yeah, I'd play this. I'd play Freddy the Great with anybody for sure. Okay, we're almost an hour in, so let me not forget the draw. So we're using this service called StreamYard. They have this thing that sort of harvests that'll harvest keywords for me. So if you want to be in the draw for the 1943 to 45 game, this game here, we're going to do a draw for that later if I can make it all work. Just put the keyword #pusher in the comments, and we'll gather them later. And then this software will do a live draw, and whoever wins I'll send it out, and it's new and shrink. You'll have it. It'll be you'll be happy. It's a good game. As I said earlier, I totally like that game. And I hope it has good legs. I like Sergio Xavi as well. He's kind of like a one-man show. If you haven't played any De Simula games, that's all Sergio Xavi for the most part, and he's a really great guy to deal with. I've corresponded with him a bit whenever I've had questions about things or was interested in stuff he was doing. He's got some great stuff. So there we go. Yeah, exactly, Vlad. That's exactly. That's the Frederick the Great was. It was a complete departure, even from the people who were used to playing Napoleonic games at the time. They played Freddy the Great, and they were like, "Well, this is not the same. This is not the usual move and fight. It's planning and logistics and trying to cut the other guy's logistics and planning for sure." Anyway, so Freddy the Great was it's a worthwhile game. Get yourself a copy if you haven't. It's another one, I should say, just as we said about Panzer Army Africa. This was a game that Frank Davis originally designed for SPI, for S&T. Actually, I don't know if it came out in S&T. I think it was maybe just a flat box SPI game. But anyway, it was one that was sold on to Avalon Hill. Here's the first. This is the first cover from. I just wanted to put in a couple of covers. This is from Hobby Japan. This was the original Iron Bottom sound from Hobby Japan. Also published. I think it might have got published in America by Quarter Deck Games. This is Jack Green. He's a longtime naval designer, and his. I think this it's on version 3 now. I think I have Iron Bottom Sound 3. I have that one as well. But this is the original, and I mean, what a cover! I mean, that I don't think they get much better. The admiral there, or I don't know, I assume he's an admiral. Maybe he's just a captain. The flag, the what looks like a battleship steaming toward us, and a line of battleships. I assume that's what they are. I'm no naval expert, but that's what it looks like to me. I saw. I don't know that Rodger repurposed this art exactly. I don't think I've seen it in another game. I just was knocked out when I saw this. And then here's another one that he did for Hobby Japan, Bitter End. Another like beautiful evocative cover. I think this is maybe the Winter War. Looks pretty cold. This game has been redone by Compass. I think republished by Compass, but I don't think they used this artwork. I think they went with their own artwork, and so I'm sure they're happy with whatever they did. But God, you're a fool not to use this. Look at those blues are so bright and such great contrast. Looks fantastic. Haven't played it though. I don't. This is not a game that I own. Yeah, he did do some. He did do covers for Command magazine, and if you look in his autobiography, that the big book we talked about earlier, I'm pretty sure that he did do some covers for Command as well. And of course, Fire and Movement, his own magazine, but I think he did some work for Command, and he might have even did a couple things for Moves magazine, although I'm not 100% sure of that. But I think if we looked it up in the book, we'd find that he did some stuff for Command. In terms of his non-Avalon Hill stuff in this period, he did a bunch of stuff for Simulations Canada. I just picked this one because it happens to be one that I own, Divine Wind. But that's it's just another classic Rodger MacGowan design, right? That great way that he sort of has of just overlapping and like collaging things that still like there's an emotional resonance somewhere there. The bowed heads of those pilots, they just say something to you about the whole way the military was structured in Japan in the Second World War. I find it very evocative. Anyway, I think he did maybe 8 or 12 covers for SimCan. They used him a lot. Stephen Newberg, fellow Canadian. Jumping. Well, not too much forward. This, of course, he does the cover for another iconic game, and this is in some ways an iconic cover. If you take it just in terms of what it looks like, it's it's a fantastic cover. But as you might guess, having a guy with SS runes front and center, Avalon Hill got some blowback for this cover at the time. Even though this game came out in '83, we were still, we're just coming out of the period of where like every cover had to have Germans on it. And in fact, Rodger MacGowan relates in his book that when they asked him to do the cover of this game, he sketched a GI, and Avalon Hill said, no, we want a German. So he said, you want a German? Well, I'll give you a German. He gave him the most German of Germans. But as is noted in the by Cardboard Commander, that drawing that he did, his original drawing for up front, that was this guy. That becomes a Combat Commander, which it's kind of funny because in some ways Combat Commander is a tip of the hat to up front. Very different games. Combat Commander has a board and pieces as well as the cards, but definitely influenced by up front. They're both like the two seminal World War II tactical card games. And Rodger did the covers for both. He did, and in fact, this one drawing was in some ways meant to be the cover for both. It's funny. If we go back, I actually think this is the more striking cover. They're both striking, but this one is actually, if you can get past the SS runes, I think it's like this one's just so dynamic. I love it. Plus, I like both games. I play them both like whenever I can. But Upfront is still my favorite game. It's maybe my all-time favorite game. It's kind of it in ASL. I know that makes me sound so old school, but those are still my my two favorite games. There's no getting away it. Yeah, it was groundbreaking in its day, and you can still play it today. It's fantastic. Yeah, totally fantastic. Both of those games were. I put this one in. I actually don't. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Cardboard Commander. We might do that. That's probably, we could probably do that with on the Vassal module for sure. And yeah, Robert, you're totally right. Upfront, Courtney Allen. Whenever anybody asks me who's my all-time favorite designer, I unhesitatingly say Courtney Allen, just because of Area, Impulse, and Upfront. I mean, there's been a lot of great designers, and I love them, and it's not like I'm not throwing shade on anybody else, but those maybe I picked Courtney Allen because I feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves. Two such monumental achievements, things that are so amazing. Yeah. So anyway. Panzergroup Guderian, I think this was another SBI port that came over to Avalon Hill. I don't have a copy of this. The cover, though, I mean, I think this is one of Rodger's all-time greatest covers. You've got the red, the blue, the orange. So you got the colors. You've got the drama. You've got the collage, and then you've got those great red arrows that just kind of seem to transport it to another level. Yeah, that was right. It was an S&T game. I was right about that. Well, that's interesting. I wonder if Cardboard Commander, was it the rule book for this version was terrible, or the rule book for the S&T version, or was there any improvement when we got to this version? I don't know. I do know people that really still are into this game. It feels like this isn't as well regarded as some of those older games, but it still has its adherence, and I can't remember. Is this the one where? No, I could be confusing with another game. Is this the game where you didn't know the strengths of some of the units until they were used? It might be that one. It's something like that. Anyway, I love this cover. I should probably track down a copy of this game because just for the cover. And because I ought to try that game. I like to play. I like to at least, when a game is kind of a classic game, there's, I think that's right. Indy, untested. So you weren't even, I think they were the Russian units. And if you were the Soviet player, you didn't actually know the strength of your units all along the line until they were attacked or attacked. Yeah, it's funny you should say that, Joe. I for a long time I avoided magazine games. Some of the S&T ones back in the day, I avoided them because they just came out so regularly. I just didn't trust how much they could be play tested. But I don't know. In my later life, I've become a big fan of magazine games, and maybe it's because most of the companies that are publishing him that I buy, maybe they only put out 2 or 4 a year or something like that. It's yeah, I certainly don't have the same snobbishness about them that I had when I was a young man. Anyway, I should say, anybody wants to get in on the drawing of for the game from Dissimula, the 1943-45 game. Hashtag pusher is what you need. I don't know how many you're in there. Doesn't matter if there's only 2. We'll run the thing and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do that in just a minute or 2. Here's another Rodger cover for when he this is the thing. This is around the time he's maybe sort of done with Avalon Hill around this time. The thing about that upfront cover was to hear Rodger tell the story. Avalon Hill made him go with the German rather than the American, and then Avalon Hill got a bunch of pushback from players, from buyers, from customers, and they blamed the cover artist, according to Rodger. So they threw him under the bus on that, and he did do a few more covers for them for sure. But you get the feeling that sort of soured the relationship a little bit between him and Avalon Hill. I don't know. That's my speculation. He does tell the story of Avalon Hill throwing him under the bus. That story's in his book. So I'm not telling a story that I just heard on the street or something. But then he does the cover for Silver Bayonet, one of the first, if not the first, game from GMT, and he was, I think the story goes, he was approached by Gene Billingsley and the other members of, there were other members of that team at the time, if he wanted to do the covers, and he said, "No, I want to be the art director. I want to kind of control it all." And so GMT agreed, and he became the art director, and I think maybe he was a vice president as well. I think he kind of came on GMT in a very senior capacity, but he did their logo, he did their branding, and he did covers, he did maps, he did counters, he did everything. Anyway, so yeah, this is he gets he's in on the ground floor with Silver Bayonet. Anyway, let's take a pause here and see if I can possibly let me just see. I don't know. Let me just. Yeah. Okay. So we've got 6 of you in the draw. There you go. So that's it. We're going to have a draw, and I just have to click on this little thing here, and it's going to tell us who's going to win the game. So here we go. Good luck to all 6 of you. Oh, Stephen Genscher. Well, Stephen, I don't know you, but congratulations. Shoot me an email at grant@pushingcardboard.com, or stop by our Discord. Just get a hold of me some way with your mailing information, and I'll get that game out to you. I'm happy to have my first winner. That's great. Hey, this software was totally easy to use. I'm glad that all worked. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Was that the That is that the first Silver Bayonet game that you guys are talking about? The that first the graphics on. I've sort of lost track of the discussion here. Yeah, even into the 2000s, the local legions here were having meat raffles. I'm sure some of them still do. Totally right, John. I grew up the same way. Okay, so that was his first cover for GMT, and then I think this is maybe his next one. This is interesting because, to my taste, this is not as good of a cover as his earlier work, and I think part of the reason is this is when the industry starts to move towards desktop publishing and desktop art and things like that. Now, I've no doubt that the central figure there of Alexander in the middle is hand drawn, but there's something about the perfection of those lines on either side of his head. They all look they all look like computer art somehow to me. It's yeah, I don't know. It's doesn't have the same kind of cover, the same kind of drama as so many of his covers. Yeah, that's a great one, Arctic Storm. Yeah, that was a good cover. I don't have that one tonight, but it was good. And I totally agree, John. There's, for a guy who was always like using these vibrant blues and reds and oranges, something about this kind of orange, I don't know. It's neither here nor there. I do not like it, but it's not terrible. It's just not to my taste. And then this is not too far. This is not too far down the line. I'm just guessing here, but I feel like he's managed to do here in desktop publishing more. This looks more like what he was doing with oils or watercolors before. We get that thing that he likes to do with a figure on either side, a little bit of a collaging thing. And again, I put this one in here because this is another game that's really stood the test of time. This is a series that people are still playing. Yeah, I agree, Vlad. He does like bright and contrasting colors. I think that's part of why. That's kind of why I like him. As I said earlier tonight, I find too many covers just a little bit washed out. There's something I don't know. There's something not quite as satisfying as Rodger's covers. Check out this next slide. This will be interesting. Now, this is a game I don't know. This was a computer game from the 90s called the Curse Campaign. Doesn't that look like a Rodger cover? I mean, it totally does, right? But it's not. It's by someone named John Kula. John Kula did this cover, but oh my God, if that's not an homage to Rodger MacGowan, I don't know what is, right? It's got the two images. It's not as subtle as his maybe, but it's got the pointillism. It's got the same sort of style of like putting that square behind the tank at the top. I don't know. I just looked at this and went, oh my God, like people, it's not exactly, I'm not going to call it, it's not like he ripped off Rodger, but talk about being influenced by Rodger. Absolutely. That's got Rodger's influence all over it. Somehow this cover, even though it probably was done at least parts of it were probably done on the desktop. I don't know. I don't know how it was done. But this cover, by this point, it feels like he's, even though he's maybe working with computers more, maybe he's scanning pieces and putting them in the computer. I don't know what he's doing, but it feels like by this point he's getting back to, like, he's, look at that red, look at that blue, look at the figures down each side. We've got the Lincoln and Davis, Grant and Lee, and then the two soldiers across from each other, like that whole thing. That's so Rodger MacGowan. He's I don't know. There's something about this cover that made me feel like he's getting a handle on the new technology, and the covers are getting better again. I agree, Stuka Joe, that those GBOH things, he had a sort of style for them, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like when games series follow a certain style that makes it easy to pick them up see them on the shelf, for sure. Yeah, and then of course the other thing about this is an iconic game as well, right? This is a huge CDG that still gets played at tournaments and stuff. It's not terribly old, but it's what is this, 98, somewhere around that. Man, if I could, 2006. So but 2006 second printing. I don't know when the first printing was. Anyway, it's a game that's still out there. This is the new cover of the game, not by Rodger. This is by Donald Hegarty, and I threw this in because I know Mark Herman says he really likes this new cover, but I mean, that or that. I really like the old one better. I don't know, something about this one. I guess the thing I like about this is it makes Lincoln look a bit like a ghost. Yes, he did design the Twilight Struggle cover. I didn't put it in here. Yeah, I don't know, but I couldn't respond to that, Christoph. I can't recall the exacts of the Twilight Struggle cover, but I totally agree with that. We have been spoiled by Rodger, and the new map is great. But I think the new map was done. Terry Leeds. I think Terry Leeds did a new map, and Terry Leeds is sort of known in the business at the moment as well. Him and Simonich are like the master map makers, and maybe even Terry Leeds artistically might be ahead by a nose on that. And I think Terry Leeds did the new map for the people. I think. I don't know. I've got this new one. I don't even know if I've opened it. I think I just got the map in the box. I think that's what I did. Anyway, we are spoiled. We'll just leave it at that. This is kind of old school Rodger, but I put this one in as a placeholder for the whole series, because Rodger did a lot of covers for the Battles of the American Revolution series, and this has a lot of classic Rodger elements, right? We have we've got the big central figure, but then the collage of the smaller figures below it. We've got striking use of color. We've got things that. I agree, Joe. I think Simonich's maps are great too. I'm not gonna if I said I thought Terry Leeds was 100, 100%. The Simonich is 99. Given my druthers, in some ways, I prefer the Simonich style because they lean more to function over form. And the Leeds maps lean a little bit on the form side. But what I like about the Terry Leeds maps is the form never gets in the way of the function. But they're it's a toss-up. Those two guys are the kings of map making. I guess the other guy that I'd throw into that is oh gosh, his name's got out of my head at the moment, but the guy who does Nemesis Burma, does some games for Legion. Somebody will remember his name. He did Dien Bien Phu as well. He's a guy who's he's one of those. He's just like Simonich in that he is a designer and an artist. So he does everything. He does his own counters, his own maps, his own game, his own rules. The name will come back to me. It'll come back. It'll come to someone. Anyway, I threw this picture of Saratoga up just to go like, yeah, there's Rodger doing another. Yeah. He is Swedish. This guy that I'm trying to think of. It's going to come to us. Anyway, Saratoga, Battles of the American Revolution, another big series for Rodger. And then this, he does the cover for this, and this game probably around in the sort of the same period as this game. The only game that was probably more popular than it in our hobby was Twilight Struggle. After Twilight Struggle, I think, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's it. Kim Kanger. Kim Kanger, from whose stuff is mostly published by Legion Games. He does everything, exactly. This cover's got maybe too much text on it for me, but that central figure is fantastic. And I'm always a big fan. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that kind of silhouette style where you do that sort of. You got the color behind and the silhouette with the foreground. I love that. And here it is. Here's our buddy Rodger one more time doing a cover of a game that is absolutely iconic and set the standard for. It set the standard for a couple of things. Oh, that's Stuka Joe is pulling our leg because he's got this Stuka Joe CDG solo system. Yeah, he's encouraging you to download it or buy it from GMT. I have a copy, yes. But anyway, this Paths of Glory, yeah, it not only set the standard for World War I games when it came out, but it was also it took CDGs in a new direction, right? It was like this was the first CDG where you had the events on the cards, you had the ops points on the cards, but you also had the replacement points, and the cards had all those different things. This by Ted Racer, this game was another step forward in the development of CDGs, and not all CDGs have to go the way that Paths of Glory did. Some did. Some, like if I think of the English Unhappy King Charles, it goes totally back to the old school way. So it's what I love about what Ted Racer did here was he gave us a new way to do CDGs, but he didn't wipe out all the old ways. It's more like a fork, right? Yeah, and separate decks for each side. So we see that in some games. We don't see it in other games. It's this game was a huge marker in terms of games going forward. In terms of it's like a signpost along the way for sure. In some ways, this game is a signpost in another way. It's interesting in that this was Volko Ruhnke's first game, and Volko's gone on to become an absolute giant in the hobby. But this was his first game, and this is one of those cases. Volko and his friends were big war gamers, played war games all through college, that sort of thing. And there were games where they were, or he was maybe less than happy with the way they worked or whatever. And and so he decided to try his own, and he very consciously uh, built his Wilderness War on existing CDGs, not on Paths of Glory, but earlier CDGs. But then tried to do it his own way, and he did do it his own way, and so I think of it like I really love Wilderness War. I love playing it. It's I think it flew under the radar a bit for a few years, but now that it's on Rally the Troops, if you haven't played it, you can play it on Rally the Troops, and that's a great way to play it. I think one of the stumbling blocks people have with Wilderness War is you set it up, you pick which scenario you're going to play, the long one or the tournament size one. You set it up, and I think what happens is you know the rules, you know what can be done. But I think a lot of players look at that when they start and they go, I know what I can do, but I don't know what to do. It's one of those games where even reading my advice to a player is the first thing you should do in a rule book is read the victory conditions. That'll just put the whole rest of the rule book in perspective, right? With Wilderness War, you read that rule book, you read the victory conditions, and it doesn't always, not to everyone, it's not immediately clear exactly what to do. And I think that's held it back a little bit, but it's a fantastic game. And of course, it gave us Vocal Runki. And so we're forever grateful. This next one, this is a series of 3 games, Clash of Giants. Another Ted Racer design. There's each of the 3 games has 2 games in each box. There's 2 World War I games. We've got the Tannenberg and Marne, and then I can't remember what the other 2 are for World War I. And then there's an American Civil War one as well. That is I can't remember, Gettysburg and something, right? Anyway, I put this one in here because it's got a great cover. Love this cover as well. I love the you don't notice it right at first, but it's sort of in the center at the back. There's those guys that are sort of washed out by the orange or the yellow at the back. I love that. Anyway, this is a totally underrated system. I haven't played this. I own it. I haven't played it yet. I went out and got it secondhand. I did own first own the American Civil War one, and they are chit pull, Joe. They're great. They're really straightforward. You can learn it and play it in an evening. I think they're underrated, and I don't know what happened if they didn't. I don't know if they didn't sell well enough or what happened. The Ted Racer first did these 2 Clash of Giants World War I games. Then he did the American Civil War one. And, I think people assumed that there was going to be more Civil War games. And then there weren't. I don't know. Maybe they didn't sell. Maybe GMT. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Easy to get to the table, totally underrated. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was Ted Racer gave up on them or GMT gave up on them. I don't know. I think, or maybe, this could be exactly what happened. Maybe Ted just moved on to his next thing, which was Dark Valley, Dark this, Dark that, right? Which, those are cool games as well. But man, I want more Clash of Irons American Civil War games. Also chit pull. Totally like chit pull games. I got nothing against chit pull games. They're fantastic. Back to a Simonage game. I find this kind of an iconic cover in a way. I don't know. I don't know if everybody's going to agree with me here, but it's very rare to see that sort of pinky orange cover. It's I don't know. There's something about it. I sort of love seeing it in this. It does remind me of snow in some weird lit way. There's something about this cover that just doesn't remind me of any other cover in terms of the palette. And then, of course, this is a cover from Mark Simonich's what we used to call the Zoc Bond series, but then he came out with his Western Desert one that didn't have Zoc Bonds, and we had to decide that we were gonna start and call it the Simonich 40X series or something instead. Anyway, this is a great game, and sort of an iconic game as well. I think for people fans of the Simonich Zoc Bond or whatever system you want to call it, I know for a lot of people this is their favorite, and for some people this is their favorite Bulge game, no doubt about that. It's funny how with this cover kind of goes back and makes me think of in some ways it's like a better version of the Great Battles of Alexander or the SPQR covers. It's like the same sort of idea, two things on the sides instead of a map in the middle. We've got Alexander or whoever. No, it's not Alexander, but whoever that is, we've got him in the middle. It's a better version. Like the quality of the publishing has gotten better by this point, but it does. It sort of reminds me like of those covers. There's something like, I don't know, maybe it's something about Ancients that pushes Rodger in this way. I brought this one up because I'm pretty sure that the stickers that go on the blocks that Rodger, in another game we would call it the counters, but here it's the blocks. I'm pretty sure Rodger did the art on those as well, which is terrific. But it's also one of my pet peeves about the whole CNC Ancient series. I wish there was something on each block that just said what they were. I don't know. My eyes are getting old and squinty, and I hate having to try and figure out the difference between a light infantry and an auxiliary infantry or whatever. I know there's those little symbols, but just give me a letter, give me something. Anyway, still, great artwork. I have no problem with what the actual images are on the blocks. I just I wish there was more. The other thing, I don't know. Is it just me? Does anybody else feel like there's something about the particularly the Ancient series that feels like it's a bit of a milk and the cow, the cash cow? It's like we could have had generic blocks, and then each of the expansions could have just been scenario packed rather than whole new sets of blocks. I don't. It's not that I resent paying for the new blocks. What I resent is all the shelf space it takes up to have all these. Like I have all the Ancients games, and it takes up a lot of real estate. And it could have just been one box of blocks, maybe two, and then another box that just kept getting filled with more and more and more scenarios. Anyway, that's my rant for tonight. I don't really have. I didn't even think I was going to have a rant tonight because I love Rodger MacGowan so much. I didn't think I'd get to it, but here we do. I have. I just one slipped in on me. I guess that's just who I am. I'm just about done, but here, speaking of the Dark series, here we have the Dark Sands, and we're getting to the point in Rodger's career where now we're supposed to, we're not supposed to, but we're starting to see more and more repurposed art. We've seen that 88 before, and we've seen that picture of Rommel before. Look at that picture. This is I don't know, Christoph. You talked earlier about a piece of his artwork that was a bit odd. To me, this is the one that's a bit odd. If you look, like there's his arm that's pointing out up to the right, out towards us. Under that arm, it's just cut away, right? It's like that's not his body. That's just like it's just cut away. Whatever it was part of another image. That's what I'm trying to say. There was part of another image that was underneath Rommel's left arm there, and it's just been cropped out and let the orange and yellow bleed in. This is a good cover, not my favorite cover. I think that cropping is a bit weird, and also having the entire continent of Africa has always struck me as being a bit like we only need really for this game in particularly we only need North Africa. Really, we're not talking about all of Africa. And even if we were to go farther, we just go over to East Africa a bit. World War II really wasn't fought so much in South Africa, as far as I know. Anyway, so like I like the image, I like the colors. I love that image of the 88 down below for sure, but not my favorite. But we're getting sort of more to the end of Rodger's career here. I just have one more slide. This is probably a repurposed. This is probably something he originally did for Hobby Japan, I imagine. But this cover was for a recent C3I magazine for Mark Herman's Burma, which was another just sort of scenario for his Empire of the Sun game. But that's a knockout cover. That's got all the color you want. That's got all the drama you want, and rare for Rodger. There's no really collaging elements here. This is just a straight up fantastic painting. Yeah, the iron bottom. Yeah, I know what you mean. That iron bottom cover is one of my two. Yeah, you guys are totally nailing it. Though I love it too. He has that technique. I mean, here the flag is a flag, but he's often got the technique of putting either the rising sun or stars and stripes or Union Jack sort of as a background in some way. It's a great way for him to inject some fantastic color into a cover. Yeah, I think so. I mentioned that this is I think this is one of his last covers. Oh, hey, Andrew, good to see you. Yeah, I did feature Anzio earlier. It's a fantastic cover. I totally agree with you. Like his version is such an upgrade on the original. Absolutely. Hey, thanks for coming, E4. I hope we see you in a couple of weeks as well. I just brought this one up because I was looking through his book, and when you get he's got a great appendix that talks about tells you all the things he was involved with. But by the time you get to this point in his career, he's not differentiating on the projects between where he was the cover artist or where he was the art director. So sometimes if he was just the cover artist, he'll say that. But when he was the cover artist, but he was also the art director, he lists himself as the art director. And so it gets harder to tell if he was actually the artist, because then sometimes you go, yeah, he's the art director, but that's definitely not his art, right? That's just him. Yes, Labyrinth, another classic, another total classic of Rodger MacGowan. Absolutely. I think I did show that one because he did both the Jacinto Panzer and the GMT Panzer. So that's interesting that he did them both, same designer, two different publishings. There you go. Any info about John Butterfield is always good info. John Butterfield is one of my all-time favorite designers. absolutely. You could list a lot because I think if you look at just the stuff that he's involved in, if you look at BGG, I think he's got over 500 things. Not that he did all the covers, but they're just projects that he was involved in. Anyway, I hope I got most people's. Yeah, he did the Burning Blues. He did some, like, he had some nice air covers. He also, I didn't put them up tonight, but he did the Hunters and another one of those sub game, or not sub, naval games that are like the black, white, and blue. He had this thing for naval games that were like that. Just he had a real. It was what do you call it? Silhouette. He really liked the use of silhouette for those the Hunters and whatever the other one was. Can't remember the name. Yeah, I like. I agree, John. I like all of I like everything about the Empire of the Sun cover. I think that's fantastic. Totally good advice for playing games, Christoph. Just keep playing. Never look back. I'm with you. Yeah, yeah. I think we did mention that tonight. Actually, Christoph actually brought it up because he thought there was something strange about it. But yeah, he did the original cover. It's coming out with a 25th anniversary edition this year, and I think actually it's getting a new cover by the guy we talked about earlier, Terry Leeds. I think Terry Leeds is doing the new cover of Twilight Struggle. Yeah, thanks for those, Rob. Those are some of my favorites as well. Although I have to say most of my favorites are in that period when I was doing these real colorful oil paintings like Fury in the West and Flat Top and stuff like that. Yeah, Fire in the Lake is a great cover. Another one where there's a good use of silhouette and whatnot. I mean, I don't think he did any bad covers, really. He's a giant. That's all you can say. And as somebody said earlier, it's gonna take a while before like there's really great artists working today, but they're gonna have to pile up a lot of a career to measure up to Rodger. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have in terms of slides for tonight. Was there, if anybody else has anything they want to talk about in terms of Rodger's art, let's just yak for a minute or two, and then we'll call it a night. Oh, and of course, Stephen, don't forget to get in touch with me so that I can send you your game. I'm so happy that worked out, and I'm happy to send the first giveaway from Live Cardboard to you. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if you showed up late, CC, but those I did a little thing earlier where I showed those 4 iconic SL covers and how they went into the ASL cover and how they were all just completely actually better than Beyond Valor and the covers that came after. The covers, those covers were fine, but they're just not. They just don't have the same kind of zing to them that Rodger's covers have. That's for sure. Yeah. Of course, I couldn't not do those. Especially, partly tonight we were talking a lot about the intersection of Rodger's art and kind of iconic games, and how so many of the iconic games in our hobby, the covers were done by Rodger, either originally or when they moved from SPI to Avalon Hill, he would do the new cover. He just seems to be, that's totally interesting, Stephen. I really should have put Panzerblitz in there, but I'll tell you why I didn't, was because I've always, this is going to sound dumb for somebody who loves Rodger MacGowan so much, I've always felt that was a Rodger MacGowan cover, but I was never 100% sure it was. I don't think it says in the game, like they didn't always, like back in the day, they just didn't mention the artists, right? And so I don't think he's mentioned in the little the little rule, in Panzerblitz. It's got that kind of map book kind of rule book that you fold out. Yeah, so that that was my question. Like, was that tank, that great silhouette coming towards us over the crest? Was it Simonson or was it Rodger? Like I could never be sure because it didn't say, and I don't always trust BGG as a source. I guess I need somebody. Well, Robert's pretty sure it's Simonson, and he's likely right because I play a lot of ASL with Rodger, and he's never wrong. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for all your comments on the videos. I love hearing from you. Good to see you tonight. Yeah, Stephen, I do not fault you for thinking, because I totally think that cover looks Rodger for sure. There's that. Well, it's the silhouette thing, right? Rodger often does that silhouette, and also that color scheme of the orange, the black, the silhouette thing. He's, that's it. Oh, that's a good choice. Cross of Iron that's a great one. The way that guy is extended and looking back, like there's so much drama and action in that. Oh, that totally makes sense. Totally, yeah. I get how that would be right. I wonder if there it is a bit of an homage, isn't it? Yeah, that's something we hardly talked about. He did covers for the General magazine, and not just covers, but often, you remember, like I was an avid reader of the General. I was not as much an S&T guy as I was a General guy. Never missed an issue. Well, once I got it, I don't go back that far. But if you remember, the General magazines always had an illustration at the top, and quite often those were Rodger did the little pen and ink illustrations for those. Yeah, I think somebody else said flat top tonight as well. Absolutely. Yes, I'm sorry I didn't get all your comments up, Christoph, but I think you're totally right. I think Rodger definitely helped to sell games for sure. CC, are you talking about the play-by-mail segment being like the way you could find other players to play with play-by-mail? I did a bit of that. I also like I love the game replays in the General magazine. That was one of my favorite things. Oh yeah, so yeah, the playthroughs. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, I love those series replays. That's what they were called. Sort of, I guess they've sort of been replaced in the YouTube generation now by the playthroughs that get done on YouTube. But I used to sometimes get out my game and with those series replays and move the pieces along with the replay. I totally love those things. Those were great. But I also did thing where, like, I joined Area, the rating system way back in the day. Hardly ever used it. And I also ordered a couple of from Avalon Hill. They used to sell these pads for certain of their play-by mail games. Back then, it was play-by mail. It wasn't play-by email. And the thing was, for dice rolls, you were to use the closing numbers on stock market tables. It was a crazy system. I didn't really get that. Just when I was trying to start that, wasn't even the internet. Do you remember like CompuServe and Genie and things like that? There was a great ASL group on Genie, and we all started playing play by email ASL. It was completely on your honor system, and it's funny because we were playing that for years. The guys from MNP, before they were MNP, they were playing with us. They Brian Yaus and Perry Koch were both part of that old Genie thing, which then morphed into the Usenet mailing list, the ASL ML. But interestingly, also part of that group was Rodney Kinney, who was like, oh, there's got to be a better way to do this play-by-email thing. And he designed Vassal, which at that point was VASL. It was just the virtual ASL. It wasn't what it's become today. I mean, VASL still lives and is easily the greatest module available for the bigger Vassal project. But Rodney Kinney was the original designer of Vassal, and he was part of that pre-internet, proto-internet time with Genie and then the Usenet. Yeah, those were. I used to have a series of, like, I can't really. It was like drafting tables. It was like a cupboard for drafting tables where they had these large sheets that you pull them out of the thing. It held about 8, and I would have 8 different ASL games going on by play by email at once. This was before Vassal, so you had to have the board actually set up so I'd pull out one tray, put it out, do my moves, put it back in, pull out the next tray. It was quite a convoluted system, but we did whatever we could to play by email. It was doing all that sort of led me to start the local ASL club here in Calgary, because I was just like, I got myself so addicted to actually playing ASL by playing it by PBEM that then I had to play it live. So that's how that happened. Yeah. I'm with you. I have two ASL games going as we speak. One with Robert, who's here tonight. We're playing a historical one, and then I have just a regular scenario that I'm playing with a Swedish fella who lives in Germany. So yeah, kind of worldwide, right? Yeah, we talked a little bit about this earlier, Steve. Everybody remembers Rodger as the great artist that he was, but he was as much a publisher as he was an artist in many ways, because not just C3I, which everybody thinks of now, but Fire and Movement was a seminal magazine, no doubt about it. And and did all the illustrations for sure. Well, I think that's about it. I think we're coming on 2 hours. That's probably a good time to wrap it up. But another great discussion. It was really great to hear from you all, and to thanks for indulging me. I had a totally different idea of what I might do for tonight's episode, and then Rodger passed away, and it was and then I knew what I had to do, and because I'm such a fan. So I'm glad there's so many other fans out there as well. It is, yeah, I know. I hope to see you at ASL one of these days too, Andy. It's great. It's like there's something, like if you've been playing as long as some of us have, the Rodger is our whole life, and even for younger people to the hobby, his career stretched so long that it's kind of there's nobody who's not familiar with Rodger MacGowan. Anyway, thanks for all that. It was a great evening, and it's again, maybe see you in a couple of weeks. That would be great. And if not, we'll see you down the line. Please check out the website, pushingcardboard.com. Check out the Pushing Cardboard podcast and YouTube channel, or even the Discord server. We're Pushing Cardboard's sort of everywhere these days. Anyway, we'll see you down the line. It's been great.